Hi. I am back this week having a discussion with somebody on a topic I feel very strongly about. A topic I think will resonate really well with my audience and my guest audience, and that is finding empowerment within disease. Finding empowerment within disease. I work with a lot of individuals who are sick, who are struggling with limitations and restrictions, and it's really hard for these individuals in that circumstance to feel empowered or incapable or strong given their circumstances. So I'm going to see if I can invite my guest on. Okay, I think I hit. Damn it, Joe went away. Come back. There's a software I can use to do this more easily, I think. Pain in my butt. I see a lot of watchers here. If you guys have anything specific you want us to go over. I'm gonna get him. Oh, it's done a Facebook Live before, so we'll see. I think we'll get him on. Joe is very, very inspiring. Every time I get on a call with him, I'm just like, oh my God, your story. So I said, I will not cry on his Facebook Live. Joe will not make me cry again. Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Did you hear me saying all that?
I only heard the end where I heard you say "make me cry again," so I'm just assuming that was about me.
So yeah, I was saying like Joe's story is so inspiring. So Joe, first, I just realized I don't really know your credentials. Like I don't know. I know you're a trainer,
Mhm.
and I know you follow some really smart people. But like, what's your background?
Yeah, certified personal trainer. I'm a level 2 original strength coach as well, and yeah,
Oh,
yes, went through their whole process, which it's a big foundation of what I do with special populations. A lot of groundwork with that. Primal movement chains from Dr. Perry Nicholson. Just went through his inaugural functional health systems, which is functional medicine. Um, Big kettlebell background, no certification, but been using them pretty much exclusively for the past about 2.5 years. And I'm also
hmm,
a group instructor at a kettlebell studio as well.
that's right. I knew you had kettlebell stuff
Yeah,
in there as well. Yeah, the kettlebell stuff is great for our population as well.
absolutely.
Um, okay, cool. I gotta look into original strength, right? That's what you said. That's what it's
Yes.
called. Yeah, I've heard about it multiple times. I need to slow down though. I'm gonna take the FRC, the functional range conditioning, and then go from there.
Yeah.
Um, so I usually start this with a question. I ask my guest a question, and one I was thinking about for you, because you've experienced getting over disease, so to speak, or managing disease rather is probably a better way to put it.
Yeah.
How were you able to find empowerment within your disease, within your limitations?
That was a tough one for me. Actually,
Yeah.
I struggled for a really long time. I had to retire due to disability, let's see, 3.5 years ago. And I was spending time in a wheelchair, barely walking. I mean, barely walking. And when I was working, it was weekends in bed and weekend in wheelchair. So, I mean, my physical limitations were to the nth degree, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
I found the last time my wife picked me up off the floor, because I've fallen 5 times. The last time she picked me up, sorry, if I might get emotional with this too, Jess. So this is, big walk down memory road for me. But the last time my wife had to pick me up off the ground, that was it for me. Um, my wife also suffers from an autoimmune condition, psoriatic arthritis, and she gives herself an injection
Mm.
every 2 weeks just so she can walk. She was in a wheelchair for 6 months at 19, and she is,
Wow, I didn't.
um, yeah. So we were quite the pair for a while.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a duo. That's yeah.
So the last time she picked me up off the floor, I said, I can't have this again. She has a lot of physical limitations. She's a strong woman, but physically she is not very strong. And to have her pick me up off the floor, that inspired me because to see somebody who I push in a wheelchair all of the time be strong-willed enough to pick me up off the floor, man, that just inspired me. And from then on, it was, I don't care what I have to do to figure this out. I'm never going to fall again. And there is absolutely no way I'm going to be in a position where I'm going to have her help me just like this. It was alarming to be 36 years old and to have my better half disabled pick me up off the floor. And that was time number 5. I could not physically get myself off of the floor, and that was not okay at 36 years old. And that really sparked something deep inside of me. And I honestly think about that every single day. One of the first things I think about in the morning is a specific picture that she took of me when I was in a wheelchair or an electric wheelchair at Target after we moved in together. And I think about her picking me up off the floor. There's 2 times. Before we moved in together, she picked me up from almost falling down the stairs because I fell right at the base of them. And then the last time, which was in the place we live in now, I can't have that happen again. It's a big,
Yeah.
big motivator.
So let me ask you this. When you went to physicians and doctors to help your condition, which by the way, are you okay with expressing what you have for an autoimmune
Absolutely. Yeah,
disease?
I was diagnosed originally with myofascial pain syndrome because I couldn't figure out neuropathy, but the end diagnosis is fibromyalgia.
Which is a little bit more rare for a male. I know for women it affects more as well. So I've actually never met a male diagnosed with fibromyalgia either. A lot of women. I
Yeah.
think I actually wrote a paper on it in college too. I had to write like a long, like 7-page paper or something now that I think about it, because it was a really fascinating disease to me. Um, when you went to go get help with fibromyalgia, were the physicians empowering? Did they suggest weightlifting? Like, did they suggest recovery?
It got me to the very end. One of the last physicians I saw did finally convince me to start exercising, but none of them empowered me with anything. It was, well, let's just do these tests, and every test come back negative, and everything is fine. And I've seen
Yeah.
um, I've seen over 30 doctors actually over the years. I've
Wow.
seen pretty much every specialist I could within the system that I belong to, and everyone just kind of scratched their heads, and um,
Mhm.
nobody gave me tools. Everyone was just kind of, I don't know. We're going to send you to the next specialist. Nobody really empowered me to this last doctor who was in I went through a pain management program through my medical provider, and he was a part of their pain management physician staff. And he was a really great physician. He was really empathetic, really understood, and he wasn't one of those guys who was like, oh, it's all in your head, you don't feel any pain, which I did have a couple of doctors say, which kind of sucks. But he was the one. I had went through this program, and I started feeling a little better, so I had some good mental tools. And I used to be a big hiker, and I wanted to get back to hiking mountains, so I started walking and got on the treadmill. And he says, your body's going to get used to that really quick. Why don't you get a gym membership or get into the weight room and start working out,
Mhm.
because that's gonna, allow you to do some different things. And that was a game changer for me. That was one person who really did empower me, and I'm very thankful for him. I think about him often, because I never and
Connection okay? I just had a question.
go ahead.
Is the connection jumpy on your side first?
Um, it's okay on mine
Or are
right
we
now.
good connection? Okay. You're just slightly jumpy. So people want to comment if he's jumpy, if it might be mine.
Okay.
Um, okay, now we're good. My question to you too is, what was the title of that physician that encouraged you to go to the gym? I'm just curious. Was it integrative? Was it more conventional doctor?
Yeah, he was just a
Oh,
conventional doctor. He was just working in the pain management, just part of the medical provider that I was working with. It was, yeah, it was referral upon referral. And it's funny is I actually didn't get into that to go see him or any of the doctors. A wonderful physician who was, I can't remember what she did. I'll remember in a second. She sent me there to go see a psychologist who specialized in chronic pain. And this psychologist was a part of
mm.
the pain management program. And then I ended up seeing a couple of different physicians and a couple of their physical therapists as well. So nobody had a special title. Everybody's just a part of that pain management program. They didn't do anything else.
It's good that she referred you to a psychologist as well. I think that, you know, with chronic pain, we think that it's one simple thing. Like when we're going through disease, there's multiple things going on. Like we need support from multiple places, you know,
Yeah.
especially when you hit rock bottom and you sort of said that in a way you kind of gave up. Like I think the picture in the wheelchair, like let's just say you didn't look happy. You look like you're like it's the
Yeah.
picture I think I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Um,
That was a
which
rough
is
one.
like totally valid, right?
Hmm.
Um, so I guess in a way you found your empowerment through witnessing somebody else's strength, through witnessing your wife's strength within
Yeah.
her struggle.
Big time. Yeah. I don't even think she really knows how much it did empower me and how much it drives
Oh,
me. Um, I tell her all the time, she's my daily motivator. I'm super driven. I really don't need any more motivation, but the reality is, we're going to start, as much as I don't want to coach her, she's going to start going through some of my functional health coaching stuff. And I'm fairly certain that we can really take care of her autoimmune condition. And my goal is just to get her off of medication. And if that happens, awesome. But my other reality is if she's on medication for the rest of her life, it's not going to be a pretty picture in the later years. And I'm going to have to stay physically able for her now. And that's okay. But and she knows that. I tell her that, but I don't think she really understands how much she has been a huge driving force with me turning things around.
and I think that's something that both of us try to do in our own career positions, right? Of
Mm.
being that for somebody else, being that empowerment. Because, like you said, you were going to all these physicians that were just like, well, we don't know, we can't help you. First, which is fine. Like, like I've done consults with people, and I'm just like, I can't help you, but you know, still in that context, like trying to find other people that can do it, trying to keep the encouragement up. Um, it's hard to find that empowerment, I feel like, in the medical community, especially with autoimmune, where there's still a lot of research that needs to be done. And there's still a lot that's like, okay, for example, you're learning from Dr. Perry and it's more the functional integrative stuff. Like, that's not as mainstream, right? Like, there are
Right.
still people who are like, oh, well, like, diet doesn't matter,
Right.
right? There's still a lot out there
Yeah.
that just like, oh, well, my doctor says this doesn't matter or whatever. When like there's so much more research that needs to come out. It's just unfortunately the pharmaceutical companies are paying for most of it. You know what I mean? So it's a really tricky position. Um, I'm reading some comments come up here too. Can you read the comments on your side? I'm
Yeah, I
just
can.
curious.
Yeah, I can see them.
Okay. Okay, cool. Uh, Paralympics, the Olympics. I'm not sure who that is. It's a very cool name. I'm just trying to read some of these comments in case somebody psychological factors are the mental factors that help her prevent from being in the right frame of mind. Yeah, yeah, for
Absolutely.
sure. So this guy's talking about how personality affects performance,
Hmm.
and I'm thinking motivation too. So I took a course, I don't know, a week or two ago on chronic pain, and they're saying how vital like personality and your core beliefs are to healing. So again, it's not just about like the exercise and such, but it's also um, that mindset, right? And like, do you
Absolutely.
do you actually believe you can get better, right? Like I know we
Yes.
talked about some clients or patients that they feel like this is it, and they just almost want a nurturer,
Yeah.
right? Like maybe we play that role where they just want us to take care of them in a way, which is okay. Like there's no blame there, but that what they really need is somebody to prompt them to heal, right? Because all healing is self healing.
Yes.
Um, and I don't know, like I don't know how to shift that. Even the psychologist who was doing the presentation, she's like, do you guys have any advice like to help people get motivated who aren't motivated, like to shift these like core beliefs? Some people it's hard. So do you have experience or have you had success with shifting people that way of like taking them from that dependency on you and almost like needing you to nurture them to being more empowered and self-sufficient.
A little
Does
bit.
that make sense?
Yeah, it does. A little bit. It's hard. I actually just had that experience with a client last night. Um,
Mm-hmm.
she was looking back at high school photos. She's in her mid 30s, and she was looking back, and she's looking back and saying, "Wow, I thought I was just so heavy back then." And this is a client of mine who has an autoimmune condition too, which definitely is affecting her weight. And she says,
Mm-hmm.
"If I only would have taken care of it back then." And I said, "I'm really glad that you said that." And I pulled out a quote that I had written down from a book that I'm reading, and just to kind of summarize it, the quote basically said, if you don't do something about it now, what do you think is going to happen in 20 or 30 years? And
Mm-hmm.
it kind of hit her, and it really sunk in deep because she is now
Mm-hmm.
20 years removed from high school. And in that 20 years, she's only gotten more dependent on pharmaceuticals. Her health has declined
Mm-hmm.
even more. And now she's at a point where, she's happy that she's doing things for herself. But I said, if you don't do this now, if you don't stay consistent, what is it going to be in 20 more years when you're 55? How do you
Mm-hmm.
feel then? And it hit her really hard. And
Yeah.
she said, I don't even want to think about that because at 55, I'm not even going to be able to move. And how heavy am I going to be? And how just sick am I going to be? And that's the path that most of us are going to be headed down. So with her is a little
Mm-hmm.
different. With most of my clients, there is a lot of hand holding in the beginning, but
Mm-hmm.
I really make a point to take the brakes off of my clients really early on and empower them with movement. Just showing them, I do a lot of stuff on the floor, a lot of groundwork, and just showing them how safe their body feels and
Mm-hmm.
showing them that they're much more capable of things that they never knew that they could do. I'm a big fan of getting people to move in many, many different ways, especially on the floor, unconventional ways, and breaking down just simple primal movements for people. And it usually takes just a few minutes for me to really give somebody a what the hell moment, but it'll take me a session, maybe two, to really show somebody that you didn't think walking through the store that you could do much of anything, and I just showed you a whole new world that you can do. So I just kind of give them the blueprint and hold their hand just for a little while. And then once I take it off, it's
Yeah.
just about empowering them to showing them that and making sure they're doing things that they can do too. 'Cause I'm meeting them where they are. That's a big thing of that I really do. And once that
I
happens,
totally,
you see it.
it's like you, I always go by you have to breed success, especially with exercise and movement with somebody with autoimmune or with chronic pain. Like they're used to experiencing pain or soreness, or they're used to failing, right? Like they're used to feeling very incompetent with movement. I don't think this is why I love what you do and why I'm in what I do is that I don't think there's enough out there for people with autoimmune conditions or chronic pain because like I just saw an ad come up on my Facebook and it was like the 21-day fix and the girl is yelling at the client or whatever and she's like work till it hurts and then go more. She's like screaming at the, and I'm just like, I mean, I don't know. I don't like to talk poorly about other people's systems, but I mean, that's our mainstream culture, right? And fitness of like, do till it hurts. And like,
Yes.
if you're not lifting heavy shit, then you're not doing anything, right? Versus getting on the ground and crawling is like, that's work. A lot of people can't even get on the ground and crawl, but you look at that and say, oh, that's easier. That's not actually working out. So I think a lot of it is reframing their relationship with exercise
Yeah. That's a great point.
and relationship with their bodies as well. And to the point of the woman who's 20 years past high school and she's looking into like 50s and beyond. I mean, I think it's hard to show those people like you don't necessarily have to be as bad as you think,
Yes.
right? And that's why like people like you are really important because you show them, hey, I went from here all the way to here, even though doctors told me that this wasn't my fate, you know? Um, but I mean, and that's why I wanted to do this secret little project I'm working on that nobody else knows about, except you and a few other people, is a secret project to like expose people to individuals like you that are like, I have this condition, but I'm not letting it destroy me.
Hmm.
And like, you still have to manage it,
Absolutely. I
right?
100% have
It's-
to.
but it doesn't necessarily define you, and it doesn't keep you from everything you want to do.
Nope. And I will not allow that to happen ever again. I'm currently working with a guy who um, he just got it's not a diagnosis. He pressured his functional neurologist to tell him what he thinks he has, which is he thinks he has ALS. And
Hmm.
he's in really rough shape. And his mentality when he comes in is not positive at all. He's just, and I get it. I've been there. And that's the one thing I can offer him is I know what it's like to have physical limitations, which he does, and to think about everything else, but not be well because of it. He has so much on his mind, his kids and his home, his wife, and what's going to happen as he physically declines. And I have been there. Uh, I wallow after I retired. I stayed in bed for a year. I didn't do anything.
Hmm.
I got worse and worse. But once you find that little bit in you and you see some bit of hope, you can hold on to that. You can't let it define you. And that's what my ALS friend, he's not even a client, he's a friend. That's what's going on with him. He got that diagnosis with open arms. He took a big old hug and he's not letting go. He is letting that define him, which most of us do when you have an autoimmune condition, when you're in chronic pain. That's what I did. I have fibromyalgia. I am a person who lives with chronic pain. And one day I said, screw that. I said, because it dominated my thoughts. And when it dominates your thoughts, you're only going to get worse. Your thoughts are so
Mm.
powerful, your mind is so powerful. And when you let those things go, when you release that big hug on your diagnosis, when you don't let it be your definition, that empowers you and gives you hope. That's what it did for me. Because the last 6 months that I was still working, I had to keep a pain journal. Anytime I felt any pain, I had to write it down, which is just absurd. I got worse and worse,
Yeah.
of course. And when
Yeah.
I stopped thinking about it, when I stopped concentrating on it, when the pain came on and I no longer said, oh, great, here we go again. Why me? Why does this always got to happen this way? And when I stopped saying that to myself, I got better. I started feeling better. And when I started feeling better, that showed me a little bit of hope. And you want to talk about holding on? There's nothing more than I've held on tighter than to hope. And that is something that I really try to bring to all of my clients that it doesn't matter what your diagnosis is, it doesn't matter what your doctors have told you. I'm going to show you that there is hope, not just because of my story, which, yeah, I know it can be inspirational, but everybody's different. Everybody's got to walk through it their own path and go through this on their own. But I will gladly show you the blueprint that's helped me. But once you find that hope, hold on to it and run with it because what else have you got to lose? You want to feel like
I was
crap?
gonna
I mean,
Yeah, like what's the alternative? And
yeah,
yeah, it is hope because once you're helpless and you're just so, I call it spiraling sometimes. Like we talked about this, I think on our last call. It's like if I am too tuned in to like the experiences of people who are really suffering, it's like enormous. It's like I can't even hold it in my system, right? Because my system's not supposed to absorb everybody's like suffering and pain and anguish,
yeah,
right? So I'm like I literally have to take it off me. Um, but it's I don't know what point I was running with that. I got distracted because of so spiraling. So I will
yeah,
spiral out of control with other people suffering instead of my own empathy. Um, and it is hard to get out of that. Like it's literally you're like emotionally on the ground, right?
yeah,
Like you're
absolutely.
emotionally just sometimes physically on the ground through that emotion, and it's challenging. I think that's where really that support comes in, whether it's like a partner, like if I'm having an anxiety attack, which are very rare now, but like my partner's there for me, right? Like he's there and he can be kind of that rock, essentially emotionally pick me up off the ground. That's why I think our positions are so important as coaches as well.
Hmm.
And why I'm really excited that you're going to start to bring your work online because you're going to start to access like so many more people that need you and like
Yeah,
need what you're speaking about. So I'm excited. I'm going to like watch you over here in the interwebs and keep seeing you do all the cool things on the internet. Because it is hard. It's hard, and it's hard to do it alone. And I love what you said. Like, don't focus on the pain as much. I know when I'm working with somebody with chronic pain, and say they have like back pain with a swing or whatever, I try to just have them focus on what we're trying to improve,
Yeah.
right? Instead of like focusing on what's going wrong, like focus on what you can do well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that completely shifts it. So that's, yeah, it's a challenge. Mental support, emotional support is important.
I think it's
Jessica wrote,
important.
I was going to say she's such a, my diagnosis was a huge boulder that I finally unloaded. I got so much better letting all that go. Okay, so Jess, you're saying like when you kind of said, okay, like this is what I have, right? But it's like I'm gonna let that roll. It's gonna
Let it
stay with
go.
me. But
Yeah, without, I think, in putting my content together, that's the number one thing that has to happen. The mental hurdle has to be overcome. Because if you're not ready, it's almost like an addict where you got to hit rock bottom. My rock bottom,
mm-hmm.
fall number 5. I'll never forget it. That was my absolute rock bottom. Not being able to walk a half a mile, I mean, that's crappy. But once you've hit that rock bottom and you're ready, you can overcome what you feel. You can overcome the pain. You can overcome the why me again. Everybody can. Your mind is so much stronger than we give it credit for. And that
So
happens.
powerful.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to heal until you are ready. And you're not ready until you can allow your mind to take control versus your body and all the pain and all the suffering. I get that that's what's going to be the thing you're going to focus on. We as human beings are um, we inherently focus on the negative, and that sucks when there's so many wonderful things we can really focus on to change things. And once you have that mental game, that's when the floodgates open. That's when you can start to feel better. That's when you can allow yourself to be good to yourself, to not beat yourself up over little tiny things. Oh, I couldn't lift that weight today. Well, did you go down to a smaller weight? Did you try something else? Did you try what couldn't you do today? Because I
Right.
guarantee once you get over that mental hurdle, that was it for me. It's all downhill after that. Yeah, there's going to be some bumps in the road, but you just got to get over that mental hurdle, and it's the mind game. And I read a book, well, listened to the audiobook by Dr. John Sarno, who is the guy who fixed Howard Stern's back. He was of the opinion, and if you don't know who Howard Stern is, it's because you're too young. But he was of the opinion
I've
that
heard of his.
he was of the opinion that most, if not all, back pain was mental. And in this book that I listened to, and I'm not saying, yeah, you've got, degenerative disc disease, you've got something that shows up on an x-ray, yeah, that's one thing. But most people's back pain, yeah, we sit too much, but it's a mental game. And if you can get over that mental hurdle, like I keep saying, it's really going to empower you. And I can't express how important that is. Once you just let it go, let the diagnosis go, hold on to that hope, it's game changer.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons why I had to leave physical therapy, because there was a huge difference between the people who did feel empowered and they felt like they had some autonomy in their disease, right? And they had some independence, versus the people who were just like, this is just what it is, and they wouldn't work, like they wouldn't take action, right? And it was me trying to drag them, and it didn't work. It was so frustrating trying to drag people. Did we crash a little bit? You crashed. Okay, now we're good. Somebody else tells us that we crash. I don't know if it's my internet or his. Are we good? Sometimes what'll happen is we'll crash and then you'll hear somebody talking really fast after.
Yeah, hold
So
on
like
a
tries to
second
catch
here.
up. We good?
Breaking up.
Does anybody have the time? So I don't. Who has the time?
I have a feeling it was my fault. Are you there now?
I am here. You said I
Okay.
think I have a feeling something something.
Okay. I think we're live now.
Four.
I think it was I
Okay.
got a
I was
phone
gonna say
call.
usually.
Yeah, I think it was my phone
Okay,
call.
that'll happen sometimes if you get like a phone. Okay.
Yeah.
I should switch this to like doing a podcast, but it just like seems really overwhelming. Um, I wanted to. So it's 4 Eastern. Okay, so a good half hour. I wanted to end with this quote. Are we frozen again, or are we good?
I'm good.
You say we're good. Okay, we're good. Okay, so I saw this video. One, special books by special kids. Like I geek out over this series. I had told you about it. And anybody else watching, if you guys have seen Special Books by Special Kids, go YouTube that. And then two, I found this YouTube video. There was a girl with Tourette's, and she had really, really advanced Tourette's, where she was literally like hitting herself. She really couldn't speak very well because she was constantly saying other words. Um, and she was like, I learned that independence isn't always just doing things for yourself, but it's just having a choice. And I loved that. I was like,
Wow.
shit, yeah, like independence, being independent within your disease or in any circumstance, like doesn't mean you have to do it alone. Like doesn't mean you can't ask for help. Like it just means that you always know you have a choice. You have autonomy.
Absolutely.
Like you're still independent. You still have control and agency over your body. Like that was I was like, shit girl, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that's it.
that's a
And
great
that's
point.
that hope. That's that control over the situation, right? Of knowing like I always have a choice and I'll always have a choice in how I behave and react in the situation. I always have a choice in how I'm going to think about my situation. It's the same like mindset. Super, super powerful.
Most powerful.
So I think that was we did like full circle, lots of things, lots of good stuff. Do you have anything else you want to end it with?
Um, if you're watching and you're struggling through something, like you just said, don't be afraid to ask for help. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Especially as okay as we get older as an adult and you don't take yourself so damn seriously. Um, Ask for help and just know that if you're struggling through something, if you have an autoimmune condition and you've had no answers, don't give up. Um, I didn't give up, and I did a hell of a lot of research to get my ass feeling better. And
Mm-hmm.
it was a lot of work, but it was worth everything because I was looking at never working again at 36 years old, and that's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now, when I show people my ID and I'm heavy and I show them pictures of me in a wheelchair, nobody believes that it's me. And that's a
Yeah.
pretty good feeling. But, you know, it's just about hope. Don't give up hope. And once you find that little tiny speck of it, hold on as tight as you can because there are people like me out there who not only have great stories, but I'm making it my life's mission to help people just like myself. And just don't give up.
Joe, you made me so happy. Ah, that's so good. One of your friends here, Brooke, said total star quality. I'm like, yes, yes, I will agree.
Yeah,
I will
Brooks.
agree.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So cool. Thank you. Thank you for jamming with me.
It's
And
my pleasure.
guys, go friend request Joe if you want to.
Please do.
I'll just be waiting for you to bring some things to the interwebs about your new stuff. I mean, you have a very unique perspective and unique education. Of course, we both geek out over Dr. Perry, who's super smart. Guys, if you want somebody else to look up, Dr. Nicholson Perry is super, super good. So yeah, you guys have the resources out there. You just got to have
Absolutely.
the hope and the faith to go forward. So thank you. Jessica said thank you as well. So,
Yep, you're very welcome,
and I'm
Jessica.
sure we will talk again soon. I'm sure we'll geek out over some other
Any,
topics soon. So
anytime. Always a pleasure talking to you, Jess.
thank you, Joe. Bye,
You're welcome.
guys.
Bye, guys.